Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Sunday edition of the Old Friends Get-Together. This is your net control for today, W4MEC. The frequency is 3715, give or take, vintage rig accuracy. My crystal is about 400 cycles high. We meet 3 times a week, Sundays at 4 right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 o'clock, all on the same frequency. And I believe the Old Friends Net is beginning to enter its 27th year of operation. I had that written down here one time. But anyway. So, the Old Friends Net is an old-fashioned round-table style net carried out in the amplitude modulation mode only. And while we welcome all participants, and regardless of rig type, we're primarily focused on vintage gear. If you don't have any vintage gear, you like to get into it, there's a lot of folks on this net with extra equipment. I've got several other folks have transmitters and receivers that they have mentioned they'd like to get rid of. So get with them and get some vintage gear on the air. On the check-ins, we're going to do check-ins. We're going to put everybody in a nice, neat row. I encourage everybody to have a book or paper or something that they can write the check-ins down. You put a call sign down, and as it goes around the net, you can make notes and to comment back or something to add or correct or whatever. This is a great place to look for gear, sell gear, buy gear, or bits and pieces of gear for something you're fixing, and a brain trust of knowledge that you can tap. So let's get started with the check-ins. Those wishing to participate, please give W4MEC a call. Come now.
Hello, Charlie. WA4LLR.
N4LQ.
K4GDN.
KG4IUQ.
KZ4 Bravo.
W4KR.
K1VVC.
WB4NKL.
November 4 Alpha Kilo N4AK.
WA4EVK.
KN4R. WM4 PFI.
K4YRK.
Okay, I had 3 doubles in there. I'm going to list the winners. First off, we've got Dave, WA4LLR, Steve, N4LQ, George, K4GDN, Mark, KG4IUQ, Mir, WF2U, Stan, W4KR, John, K1VVC, Cliff, WB4NKL, Glenn, N4AK, Boone, WA4EVK, Brian, KN4R, Doak, WN4PFI, Dave, K4YRK. And who are the doublers? Come now.
KZ4 Bravo.
Okay, I copied Tom, WA4FJQ, with a carrier underneath him. Who's that?
KZ4 Bravo.
KZ4 Bravo, down the band a little bit. Any others?
KJ4YEV.
K4VWD.
Okay, I got KZ4YEV and Lee K4VWD. Any others? Okay, here's the list, and here's where you need to write them down. You can put the suffix down if you want, and but we're going to go first up: LLR, LQ, GDN, IUQ, 2U, KR, VVC, NKL, AK, EVK 4R PFI. I could read it. RK FJQ 4B YEV and VWD. One less standby. Any others? That was YRK. I just said RK. Sorry about that. So SW4MEC, the net control for the net today, and we're going to try something different on this first go-round, because a lot of times Steve will record this and he puts it on the internet. So for this go-round, instead of a long transmission, let's try go down the list, introduce yourself, name, location, and what kind of rig you're running. Now, I know a lot of folks use multiple rigs, and it's always interesting to keep a running list. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down the line, and we're going to go through this first one time, and intro yourself, location, rig, and pass it on to the next guy, and then we will head back and start at the top again for the comment section of the net. So I'm Charlie, W4MEC in Henderson County, North Carolina. I'm on Apache TX-1, receiving on a Heathkit RX-1 Mohawk through a Heathkit tuner to a 80 meter dipole. The WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
W4MEC in the group, WA4LLR. Good afternoon to everyone. Name here is Dave. I'm in Burnsville, North Carolina, and I'm using an ART-13, receiving on an HQ-180 Hammerlin. So that's the details on this end. Steve, down to you, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, it's N4LQ, Steve, in Shelby, North Carolina, running a Ameco TX-86 at about 200 watts carrier and a D104 mic and a horizontal loop antenna. And I have a question, a bonus question for the net. There are 3 possible answers. Just tell me just give me 1, 2, or 3 for your answer. And I'm going to keep track of how many of each we get. First of all, I have a tree to saw down with an electric chainsaw 200 feet from the nearest AC outlet. I have 2 cords. Both of them are 100 feet long, so I needed 2 cords. One is a big, heavy 12 gauge cord, and the other is an El Cheapo 16 gauge cord. Which of the 2 cords should be plugged into the AC outlet first? The heavy one or the small one? The answer number 1 is the large one. That would, if you say number 1, that's the large one, you would plug in first. Number 2 is the small one, and answer number 3 is it don't matter. So 1, 2, or 3, just let me know what you think. And over to K4GDN, N4LQ. Go ahead, George.
N4LQ in the group. This is K4GDN. The name is George. I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'm operating on an AF67 feeding the homebrew 811 linear, putting out about 120 watts carrier. Receiver is a PMR 7. And by the way, the microphone is not a D104. I'm using a Turner 350. And Charlie, I couldn't copy where I was supposed to turn it to. So if you would, please do that for me. K4GDN.
It goes to KG4IUQ, and you didn't answer the question.
Okay, this is KG4IUQ. My name is Mark. I'm in Shelby, North Carolina. I'm using a multi-LMAC AF68 transmitter with the multi-LMAC PMR8 receiver. My antenna is a dipole for 80 meters. I'm having some issue with kind of a distortion, can't hear everybody well, don't know why, so I don't really know what's going on with Steve's question about the proper extension cord hookup to use with the electric chainsaw. I don't really know, haven't thought about it yet. I'm going to turn it over to, I believe it's Mayer, WF2U. This is KG4IUQ.
Roger, KG4IUQ and the net. This is WF2U. Good afternoon, everybody. Booming signal. Everybody is very strong. And for the first time on this net, I'm using one of my latest acquisitions, a Japan radio company, in other words, JRC, made marine radio. The model is JSB 196GM. It's 150 watt PEP on side end. Oh, I'm releasing the PTT by mistake. Anyway, and the carrier on AM is 80 watts with an upswing with modulation. That I can see on the meter is about 100 watts. It's just it's not a peak reading meter. Oh, I forgot the introductions. The name is Mayer, Mike Echo India Romeo, and I'm in Gownsville, which is just like a neighborhood outside the little town of Landrum. I'm actually in Greenville County, not in town. And so the radio is putting out 80 watts carrier in AME. It's full carrier with upper sideband. And everybody's like just blasting in here. Actually, I put the 10 dB attenuator option. I kicked it in, and everybody's still booming it. The microphone is not original. It's an Electro Voice low impedance desk mic that I got at the last Shelby Hamfest, pretty cheap. And it's the impedance that I need for this radio. The antenna is the 80 meter end fed half wave, about 45 feet end to end. So anyway, it goes to Dan. W4KR, this is WFU.
Okay, Mayor, good afternoon to you and everybody else. Good signals all the way around today. This is W4KR, name is Stan. I'm located northwest of Walhalla, South Carolina, about halfway between Walhalla and Westminster, and Mountain Rest, between Walhalla and Mountain Rest. Let's see, your questions, Charlie, going down the list, the antenna here is a coax-fed dipole at 100 feet. Receiver's an NC303. Transmitter today is a Valiant, running 125 watts out, a carrier, fed with and it's I'm using a D104 mic with it. No antenna tuner, by the way, on the antenna. Just feeding the transmitter direct. Steve, there's a data point we don't have. First of all, given what you told us, I would say number one. Depends a little bit about how much what the current draw of the chainsaw is. If the chainsaw is if it's a small chainsaw, it might not make any difference. You could then I would say probably number three. But given what we know, the answer is number one. Enough of that. With that, John, to you, and John and Lee, thank you. You know what I'm saying. Love your location, Lee. Love your location. You got a wonderful spot there. That's great. K1VVC in the old friends group. W4KR.
Yeah, very good, Stan. W4KR, K1VVC. Well, sorry you weren't able to make it to lunch. We had a really great turnout. And my name's John, located in Greer, South Carolina. And I'm using a Johnson Viking 500, receiving on a National HRO 60, And the antenna today is an inverted V with a peak at about 60 feet. And using a static D10 microphone. And Steve, as far as your question, I give you a number 4. Over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
Yeah, K1VVC, WB4NKL. Name here is Cliff. Located in Limestone, Tennessee. And I have a train going by. You might hear that in the background in a minute. Rig here is a Heathkit DX100B, running about 100 watts into a 160 meter dipole through a Palstar tuner. And receiver is a Collins 75S3B. Steve, I'm going to say number 3. Number 3 on the question. So go ahead, Glenn. N4AK WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff. WB4NKL, Limestone, Tennessee. This is November 4 Alpha Kilo. Handle here is Glenn. We are located in Sunset, South Carolina, about 15 minutes north of Pickens. The equipment running today is a Viking 500, a Johnson Viking 500, D104 microphone, receiving on NC183 Delta. The antenna is a Cobra antenna fed with 450 ohm line, and then going through a Drake MN2700 tuner. The current, the AM output wattage is 350 watts steady, and then it peaks to over a kilowatt on voice peaks. I would say number 1 for my choice. So, boom, WA4EVK, November 4 Alpha Kilo.
WA4EVK in the group. Excuse me. N4AK in the group. WA4EVK. I'm running an AF60 multi-LMAC AF68 into an Old Swan Mark I, then out to a in-fed half wave through a Drake MN2700 tuner. My swag at what you're asking there, Steve, is number 3. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Brian. KN4R to take it, WA4EVK.
Okay, Boone, WA4EVK and the Sunday old friends. This is Brian, KN4R, Sherrills Ford, North Carolina, and I am running a Korean War era GRC9 here into a little HLA 300 amplifier, running about, looks like about 80 watts of carrier here, and to an in-fed half wave. And my first thought would be would be number 1, the biggest extension cord toward the wall, and then the 16 gauge stuff out where you're at. But it's probably a trick question, so we'll see. So over to you, Doak, WN4PFI in the group, KN4R.
KN4R, WN4PFI. Thank you, Brian. Name here is Doak, Delta Oscar Alpha Kilo, and located in Suches, Georgia. It's in Union County, up in the northeast corner of the state, not far from Carolina, North Carolina. And the rig here is a DX60 into a Warrior amplifier. Run about 40-45 watts carrier. Voice peaks are about 250. And the antenna is a flat top flat top dipole cut for 80 meters, fed with open wire line into a Dentron super tuner, and the receiver is a Drake 2A. And to answer to Steve's question, as a guess would be number 1, though I would prefer to go to the rental store and rent a gas-powered chainsaw and take your tree down with that. On to Dave, K4YRK, WN4PFI.
Yeah, WN4PFI, K4YRK, the old friends net or group. And everyone, I think I've got a copy on every station checking in this afternoon. Most of them good signals, S9. I'm running a solid state here. It's a ICOM 7610 transceiver. Really nice rig. And it seems to do something well on me. So hopefully, the antenna is a 160 meter full wave loop. It terminates right outside my ham shack here, out the window. It's about 340 foot long down through the woods, and I own those woods, so I can get the antenna into the woods with no compromise. I do have a vintage Ranger 2 and a Hammerlin HQ170 receiver, but they're upstairs in the sunroom, not down here in the shack where it's warm. So, and I'm not sure which station I copied, partial copy. Well, I got KZ4B and BWB good. And that's the one I'm supposed to find you. So, you know who you are, so pick it up from K4YRK, Dave in Knoxville, Tennessee, over.
K4YRK, this is WA4 FJQ, Whiskey Alpha 4, Foxtrot Juliet, Quebec. Name here is Tom. In High Point, middle of the state, running an AF68 through a 3 dB attenuator over to a 30L1, and then up to an infed half wave, running probably the carrier is somewhere around about 70 watts or so. And I think what I'll pick is number 3. It doesn't really matter to Steve's question. So, at any rate, we'll turn it over to John. KZ4B, this is WA4FJQ, over.
Here is John. The QTH is on Lake Norman on the Mooresville side, 2 miles from exit 33. On I-77 north, and the answer, well, the rig here is a T150 night kit that is driving a Ameritron AL1500 amplifier, which in turn drives a AT5K Palstar tuner, which in turn drives a double bazooka dipole 200 feet end to end, and it's balanced on with ladder line feed, no loss hardly. Shifting gears, the answer is definitely, in my opinion, number 3. And the reason is that, according to Kirchhoff's law, when you have a bunch of series resistances, which are the 2 extension cords and the chainsaw, the current is everywhere the same. And if the current is, and it's a parallel circuit, so the voltage is everywhere the same. Well, I say that. The voltage declines the farther away you get from the load, but it doesn't change that much, and the current's exactly the same. So it's number 3. So I think it's YEV takes it next, maybe, or I didn't copy the last stuff, so if I'm wrong, Charlie, straighten it out, and also please tell me if I'm still off frequency. Over.
KJ4BT in the group. This is KJ4YEV.
Yeah, you're down the man a little bit. And goes to Al, KJ4YEV. Pick it up.
Gastonia, North Carolina. I'm talking to you on a DX60, barefoot, no amplifier. Receiving in World War II Navy RBM-5, that's Romeo Bravo Mike 5, receiving with the Westinghouse. And my answer to Steve's question is number 3. In a series circuit, I don't believe it matters. So I'm going to pass it on to, I believe it goes to Lee, K4VWD, to take it. KJ4YEV, over.
Okay, Al, very good. Thank you. Great signal. This is K4VWD. The name's Lee. Spell it differently. It's L-E-A, like T-E-A-T and S-E-A-C. I'm using a multi-LMAC AF68, a PMR8 receiver. The transmitter is feeding a Bandit amplifier, and I got about 190 watts out to a ladder line feeding a dipole. It's almost 139 feet long. So with that, back up to you, Charlie. W4MEC in the group. K4VWD.
All right, Lee, very good. K4VWD and the old friends, W4MEC. Any late check-ins that would like to join us, come now.
WB4ARK.
Okay, we got Buddy. Anybody else? Okay, Buddy, you'll be after Lee on the next go-round. Go ahead and make a ID transmission and what you're running and turn it back to me. WB4ARK, W4MEC.
W4MEC, WB4ARK. Running ART13 and R390A receiver horizontal dipole. Weather today was pretty nice this morning. Got up to kind of a chilly morning, 30 some degrees, and it's been coming up all day. Looks like we're going to have a lot of rain on Tuesday, so we'll see what happens. So back to Charlie, W4MEC, WB4ARK.
Very good, buddy. WB4ARK and the old friends, W4MEC. All right, fellas. Well, I'm going to go with number 3 on that answer with, I forget, I think it was Al or John went through Kirchhoff's law, but it'll be interesting to watch it on a scope establish an equilibrium when you put the load to it, because it would drop X amount of voltage, but the current would fall off on the saw, and it would make the voltage rise, and at some point it would settle out to some level. Probably do it pretty quick. But there should, I agree with, I think it was Boone, there should have been option 4, and that is use a real chainsaw with a gasoline motor. I've tried the electric chainsaw, and I've got a heavy cord, and it's good to about the length of that cord, which is about 75 feet. But after that, I break out the gas one, because after about 75 feet, it's a pain to drag around a cord. So let's see. Okay, what's interesting about that is it took just about the same amount of time to get through round number 1 as normal. So I don't know. I guess we'll work through some of these things here. And another suggestion was, even though we do allow old buzzer transmissions, that if we held them down to maybe 2 minutes, we could get through the group and then start back through again, and you could finish. But we'll see how that works out. And a lot of Sunday's nets here, we've got 18 people, and usually make it through twice, and we don't even get in a 73 round, and then we end up running till 5:30 or something. So, but I'm not in any hurry. But I'm here, so we can go all night. But anyway, yep, we're expecting heavy rains come Tuesday. There are a warning of flooding. We got some ice. What was it, yesterday? And a lot of the branches were sagging, but none of them broke. We didn't lose any power. And the interesting thing was, after it had rained and warmed up, I went outside to put out a bird feeder or two, and it sounded like it was pouring rain, and it wasn't a drop coming out of the sky. It was all coming off the ice melting on the trees. So I forgot about that, but it wasn't as bad as they said, so that's good. All right, let's go around again one day. WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie. W4MEC. And the group, WA4LLR. Well, good signals all the way around today. And we've got a pretty nice sampling of vintage gear, 5 LMAX, 3 Heath kits, 1 Knight kit, several Johnsons, and that's great. Anyway, temperature up here is 33 degrees. We've had snow showers off and on all day, but no accumulation. And we're looking for the flooding coming up as well. I'll keep this one fairly brief. My answer, if it had been propane, I would have said number 1, because you want your larger pipe early on, carrying as much volume out as you can, and then you can reduce down. But I tend to think it's number 3 as well. Anyway, let's see. As far as solar conditions, space weather, sunspot count's 149, solar flux index is 159, and the K is 1. Pretty good conditions. A few things from this day in history. On this day in 1610, Galileo discovered 4 of the moons of Jupiter. On this day in 1968, Surveyor 7 lifted off and a few days later did a soft landing on the moon. On this day in 1789, the first presidential election was held. On this day in 1999, President Clinton's impeachment trial began. On this day in 1785, 2 explorers crossed the English Channel in a balloon. On this day in 1927, the Harlem Globetrotters played their first game. And that's about the size of it. Well, one other thing. On this day in 1953, President Truman announced the U.S. had developed the hydrogen bomb. So there you go. We'll go ahead and send it on down and let Steve give us the answer. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. Very interesting. I was going to say 1953, but then it hit me, hydrogen bomb. Yeah, okay. Atom bomb, when did that come out? About 1944 or something like that? Well, let's see. The correct answer is, of course, number 3. Just kind of basic Ohm's law that the current's the same anywhere in a series circuit. So if one wire has more resistance than the other, it doesn't make any difference. You're still going to wind up with the same amount of current at the end of the run, and that's what the saw is looking for. Now, if you chose number 1, I'm going to give you an out, because if you use the small cord at the saw, at the chainsaw end, then if the tree falls on the cord, you only lost a cheap cord. But if it fell on the large cord and tears it up, then you would have lost more money. And but then again, of course, if you cut the cord with the chainsaw, you would be out a large cord if you chose number 1 also. So you want the small cord up there by the tree. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But Kirchhoff's law, I don't know about that, but Ohm's law states that the current is the same anywhere in a series circuit, and I suppose that's what that is. So let's see, we had about 7 people got the correct answer, number 3, and 4 chose number 1. And for some reason, nobody wanted number 2, and then 4 of you didn't give any answer at all. And I think there were more than that, really. I got another question, and I really don't have the answer. I just wonder, what do you use to measure the impedance of a large filter choke? For an example, I've got a 10 Henry, 12 Henry, 7 Henry choke, and I just wonder what you guys would use to measure that. I've got a little meter here that measures inductance, and it only goes up to 2 Henrys. So I don't have anything that can measure something that high, and I just wondered what the group recommends. So let's see. And Tom, you've lost a lot of your audio. You're down to about half what you used to be, and I had to listen a little hard. I heard you tell somebody that it was supposed to be better, but you used to be real loud, and now you're looks like about 50% audio modulation percentage or so. So I'm not sure what happened there. Just FYI, it sounds good otherwise. Probably just turn it up. And KZ4B was almost exactly 4 kCs too high. So you win the off-frequency award today, John. Over to, let's see, who we go to? K4GDN, N4LQ.
N4L2 in the group, K4GDN. And I'm sorry I didn't answer the question. I was too concerned. I didn't know who to turn it to when I was done. Anyway, I would tend to go with number 1. Realizing the crews staying everywhere, if something's getting hot, I want it close to me. I want to know it's getting hot first. But it really doesn't matter as far as if the cords both are capable of carrying the current load. Shouldn't make any difference. Anyway, nobody made any comments about the microphone. This is a Turner 350. It's a ceramic. It's not amplified. And according to the monitor, it looks like I'm getting about 100% modulation with it. I thought I'd just give it a try. I had a couple of them laying around. Everybody was talking about the ceramic mics, the D104s the other day. So I thought I'd give it a shot and let it go. I've used it before on some other equipment, but I prefer the desk mics for this because I'm usually having to fool around with a bunch of switches or dials when I'm working with the older equipment. So that's why I generally don't use it. But I thought I'd give it a try today. So, and by the way, I'm on the Cinepad dipole. That's a total of about 150 feet, with the ends dropping down 25 feet on each end, and it's up about, I guess 40 feet. And it's Cinepad with a ladder line, and I'm going through a small matchbox and running the homebrew 811 linear, and it's putting out a little bit over 100 watts. I'm running about 130 mils of plate current, and this is straight current. I can see the tubes, and there's nothing getting ran in there, so it seems to be doing fine. So with that, I guess I'll turn it over to Mark. KG4IUQ in the crew, K4GDN.
Thank you very much, George. This is Mark, KG4IUQ. Well, I hear that answer number 3 is correct for the extension cords. That sounds pretty good to me. I figured out what I was doing. I do this pretty often. The RF gain and AF gain were not adjusted correctly, and I couldn't hear well. Steve is asking about how to measure the impedance of a large choke. I don't really know that yet. If it was me, based on what I know, and that's not much, I'd figure that the impedance would depend on the frequency. If you have something that can measure impedance and put out that frequency, and I try just test that and see if it's correct or not. I don't know. I've never tried to measure anything like that. I would try one of those antenna analyzers and see if it could give out a impedance at that frequency. And I don't know if it's even capable of that. But I have been experimenting with the Harvey Well TBS50C Bandmaster. It seems like it's working. I've had some problem with hum coming out of it. I'm assuming it's the power supply. I have ordered capacitors, and I'm going to try to use another power supply. Actually, the power supply for the multi-LMAC. I'm going to see if I can kind of slip the Harvey Well Bandmaster in here and use the multi-LMAC receiver along with it, have everything hooked up so that I can use it on the air easily. But the power supply that came with it is working. I think it has a hum in it. And I've ordered a resistor, 20-watt resistor, to try to step the power down. Well, it fits the power requirement for the Bandmaster. I'd like to know how to measure the impedance of that coil. I know this power supply that I have has a 10 Henry coil. It's the first one I've ever really seen. But I'm going to turn it over now to Mayer, WF2U. This is KG4IUQ.
Yeah, Roger. KG4IUQ and the net. This is WF2U. Oh yeah, Steve, I forgot to answer your question, but everybody was trying to treat. And how to calculate the inductance of your core or of your choke? It's pretty easy. I mean the impedance. If you know the inductance, then you can calculate it. If not, you have to measure it. The impedance would be 2 pi FL. That's a formula. F in hertz. So you just have to do, obviously, since it's for a power supply, I assume, you would do it at 120 hertz. Because that's what it has to filter. If you don't know the impedance, if you don't know the inductance, you can calculate it the opposite way. Inject 120 cycle to it, and see the other. Put a load on it, and see the other end. See both ends. With a scope, what voltage you're putting in and what voltage is coming out, and you can calculate that. That's simply you can calculate the difference. Obviously, the output is going to be somewhat lower because of the impedance at that frequency. So that's relatively easy. Now, if you have one of those impedance jigs that even HeatKit used to have, that LC meter, then you could easily measure it with that. I think I might have it somewhere, stashed away somewhere in storage. One of those LC meters, which is pretty easy. You can also make it into a resonant circuit with a known capacitor in parallel, and start running a wideband oscillator until it resonates, and then from there you can calculate the resonant formula with a known capacitor and the known frequency, what the impedance is, or what what the inductance is, and then you can calculate the impedance. So there are several ways doing it. Anyway, I'm pretty happy that this transceiver is working, but it's almost a boat anchor, because although it's all solid state and synthesized, it's really from the mid-1980s. So it's almost 40 years. So I would say it's vintage. It's pretty much vintage. And I had a little work to do with it, because the way it comes, it does not cover ambient. It only covers the international marine frequencies, actually that marine bands. And there is a service menu in it that will enable transmit all across the HF band, including 160 meters, and also enables AM on all the other frequencies, because originally it works only on the 2 megahertz, what is it, 2.85, 2.5, 2.852, I think, or something. 2.182, sorry. And that's where it works on AM, so I had to enable AM all across the HF band, and also enable lower side band. So it was pretty easy, because it just had to be done with a service menu. But it works nicely, as the reception is. I have to kick in the attenuator, because everybody is like blasting in here. Anyway, won't hold it too long, so it goes back to stand. W4KR, this is WFTU.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. WF2U, W4KR. Let's see. Something I didn't mention before. I'm using. I dug out my REA modulation meter this afternoon. I wanted to see how the Valiant was doing with modulation percentage. Doing quite well. Negatives are just a hair below 100, where they belong, and it's peaking about 100 and about 120% on the positive side. And watching the pattern, it looks pretty good, and you can also see the asymmetric relationship with the modulator, and it looks perfect. Let's see, Steve, the LC meter. You know, you need a big LC meter. I've got a Sencor LC meter that will go that high. I think it'll go up to about 20 actually. Have to look and see what the top end is, but I think it is. I think that's it. If you need to measure those things sometime, we'll get together and see what we can do with that. Let's see, what else do I know? Charlie, you mentioned 2-minute transmissions, more or less. If that ever comes up for a vote, I'd vote for it. Indeed, indeed. With that, I'm looking for 2 things. Some good 6146s. 46s or 46As, either one. Can't use Bs for what I'm doing with it. And there was something else that I was going to mention, and it has escaped me, so it's going to hang in here until Tuesday. With that, I'm going to turn it back to. I know what it was. Mirror. The rig sound, the modulation sounds good, looks good. I was looking at it with the on my SDR receiver, looking at the pattern. Look good. You're getting close to 100% modulation, but sometimes sounds like you drift away from the mic a little bit, and it drops quite a bit. There's not a lot of reserve in that puppy. So John, here it comes. here it comes to you, and 7-3s, everybody. We'll see you all Tuesday morning, Lord willing. K1VVC and the Old Friends Group, W4KR.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Stan. And sorry I missed you on Thursday. And well, yeah, I hope you are feeling better. You seemed a little bit down on Thursday, but hopefully you sound good now. That's for sure. And Steve, I gave you a number 4 on the list only because either borrow a gas-powered saw from a neighbor or go rent one. But 200 feet with an extension cord. I think I'm not the only one that made that suggestion, but that's certainly what I do. You must know somebody that's got a gas-powered saw you can borrow. I have one of those electric ones, but we only use it for small branches around the house. Never anything far away. Oh, anyhow, everybody's sounding good. Very good conditions today. Almost no background noise at all. And believe it or not, I think the strongest signal I was hearing was John KZ4B, who was absolutely booming in here today. So with that, let me shift it over to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
K1VVC, it's WB4NKL. Okay, John. I got a good copy on everybody. George, he was asking about the microphone. It sounds good to me. And you're booming in here. That's about the strongest I've ever heard you from Myrtle Beach into East Tennessee. So I guess the band conditions are getting good here in the wintertime, but excellent copy. And let's see, Steve, I would have probably, if I didn't have something to measure it, I would go with what Mir said on the second one. I'd put a capacitor in parallel with it and measure the resonant frequency and go from there. And you might do it on a known one just to see if your test setup is, if you get everything set up right, the generator and the scope. I got out and walked today. Got in 4.4 miles, and it started up 39 degrees, and it rained a little bit on me, and then it snowed, and then I had some sleep, but made it around. Time I got around, I got warmed up pretty good, but we had all kinds of weather conditions, just mostly rain here though. So it's 39 degrees. It's what little snow fell, it didn't last at all, any at all. So I don't know what the next few days is going to bring, but hopefully we'll survive whatever it sends us. I'll say 73s. Enjoyed it, and thanks for calling it, Charlie. Go ahead, Glenn. N4AK, WB4NKL.
Okay, Cliff, WB4NKL in the group, November 4, Alpha Kilo. I love the question. So what I would have to do at my age is I could tell if a choke was good or bad using the old MFJ 269 antenna analyzer. If it got much more complicated than that, I'd have to pull out my electronic communication book by Schrader and start on page 96. And then after I did all that, I would absolutely get here on the Old Friends Net and ask the question, because here is some good information to be had on this net, and that's why I enjoy it. So, passing it right on down the list, WA4EVK, N4 Alpha Kilo.
N4AK in the group, WA4EVK. Well, forgot to give my location a while ago. It's Pickens, South Carolina. And Steve, I have an LC meter that reputes or claims that it will go up toward 100 Henrys. I do not believe that, but I have checked 8 and 10. And I'll talk to you tonight on the 160 meter band about some way of getting it to you. It's a small one, can be used that way. Not much else here except I seem to have the noisemakers in the neighborhood seem to turn whatever it is they're creating havoc with on Sunday afternoon and evening, as I've talked about before. So got great copy on George and everyone. George is usually the hardest. Got great copy on him today, but I've got a terrific local noise problem that the noise reduction on either the SDR or anything else can't seem to handle. And with that, I'm going to send it on down to Brian, KN4R, and the old friends net, WA4EBK.
Okay, Boone, very good. WA4EBK and the Sunday old friends. This is Brian, KN4R, back for round 2. Well, great on all. All the signals are great, and everybody's audio sounds really good as well. So I'd say it's been a good net. I'm going to go ahead and say 73. Enjoyed it, and hope to get in on 160 tonight at 8 o'clock. So, over to you, Doak. WN4PFI in the group, KN4R73.
Okay, KN4R. This is WN4PFI returning. I got, as some of you said, got a good copy here on just about everybody. George is always the most difficult for me to copy, but I am getting him right good today. Don't know if you're copying that or not, George, but copying you here well today in Union County, Georgia. Temp here is 33 degrees. We did have some light snow this morning that has since melted, and as some of you mentioned, looking for a lot of downpour coming in a few days. And Charlie, I'm going to go ahead and get out. Thank you for calling the net today, and it's good to hear all of the old friends on today. So 73s, hope to be back on next Sunday. I don't get a chance much during the week because of some other schedules, but hope to be back on next Sunday. So I hope all of you have a good week. 73. And I think it goes down to Dave, K4YRK. This is WN4PFI, and I'll be clear. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Very good. This is K4YRK, and very interesting topics. On the first, I forgot the answer. I would have picked number 3, just thinking along the lines of the current would be pretty much equal all across the circuit. But wire diameter makes a big difference on it. The small cord will more likely burn up if overloaded. So anyway, in the call, I don't really have an answer other than what Glenn said. Go get the tester and start testing it. And I do have a Comet antenna analyzer, very useful instrument. And I had an MFJ and gave it to a new ham. So everybody needs an analyzer. At least we didn't even know what that was when I first got into ham radio. Hey, all of you have a good one. Thanks for calling it. EZQ, I believe, is next. You know who you are. K4YRK is signing out.
Let's see. WA4 FJQ, I guess you didn't copy. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, K4YRK, this is WA4FJQ. I couldn't copy Dave. He just disappeared completely, so thanks for giving me a heads up, Charlie. Steve, if you're sitting in front of the radio and I've gone and done something else, can you come back to me before I turn it down to John? If you're looking at your radio, could you give me what you think the percent modulation is now? I turned the mod back up to where I'd originally had it, and just come back to me, and then I'll turn it on down since we're getting late in the hour. Over.
Sounds good now, good and loud, Tom. Go ahead.
Roger that. Okay, well, I'll just leave it where it was. I got this YO100 monitor scope. It worked for about an hour, and when I had it working, I injected a 1,000 cycle tone into the AF-68, and the pattern looked really good. The diamonds were perfect, not separated and not flat topping. But when I looked at the modulation with the radio going at this level, it looked to me like it was overmodulating like a fair amount. But I'm just going to leave it here until I get this scope fixed. It quit on me about an hour ago. At any rate, let me turn it down to John, KZ4B. This is WA4FJQ.
FJQ in the group, KZ4B. Fine business, Tom. You always boom in here. We're fairly close together since I'm Mooresville, and wanted you guys to critique my frequency now. I have a tough time zero beating this thing because it puts out so much RF that it overwhelms my receiver, and so I think I've got it back on frequency, but please let me know if I need to play with it some more. Shifting gears, John, K1BBC, your static D10 mic element sounds great. It sounds every bit as good as a D104. And at the Mooresville Ham Fest, I bought a new D10 head, and so I can use that if I have a problem with my D104. It's very, very inspirational. And with regard, shifting gears again, with regard to measuring choke impedance, if it's an RF choke, you just about need to use an LC meter to get a inductance L value, and then use Mears equation to calculate the impedance. Don't need to repeat that. But if it's a filter choke or a modulation choke where you're isolating, say taking the DC off your modulation transformer, I think I heard he said he thought it was in the neighborhood of 10 henries. What I would do there is simply get myself a light bulb and that draws little enough current to keep from hurting the windings, and so, you know, 100 watts or less, and I would plug the choke, put it in series with the light bulb, and measure the voltage drop across the choke, and measure the current through the choke. And, you know, with Ohm's law, Z equals E over I, voltage divided by the current. And I would just, that would be the Z. It's that simple. And that's what I do. But it's critical to use a non-inductive load so that doesn't mess with any phase shift or anything. So that's my 2 cents worth. I'm going to say 73s. Thanks for calling the net, Charlie. And please, anybody that's left, please critique my frequency. So, KJ4, let's see. Let me look at my list here. It's hard to read my Chinese. Where the heck was I? Okay, High Point. KJ4YEV in the group, KZ4B, over.
In the group, KJ4YEV, thank you, John. Steve, about your question about the inductor, I think Muir and John both gave you some good advice there. I will say this, an LCR meter is not the way to do it because they don't put sufficient current through the inductor to get an accurate inductance measurement. The inductance of the value of the choke is dependent on a certain minimum current. Most of those small meters just won't do that. And also your question about the chainsaw in the previous round, I don't know if that was a hypothetical question or a real-life situation, but if it's a real-life situation and you need some 12-3 runs, I have quite a few 100-foot heavy-duty 12-3 cables left over from my days in the concert sale business, and you're more than welcome to borrow some of them if you need them. So with that, I'm going to say 73. We're getting pretty late here, and I'm going to pass it on to Lee. So K4VWD, Lee, take it away. This is KJ4YEV.
Okay, Al, very good. This is K4VWD. Well, first of all, we're missing Ray today. I wanted to tell him something, but I'll try to do that Tuesday. I also, Charlie can answer the question about what I'm getting ready to say. I got a phone call about a couple of days ago from a former CBer who has a Varmint XL 350 amplifier, about 300 watts out, and he wants to give it away if there's anybody interested in it. He bought it about 30 years ago, so it's been around for a while, but it's a tube type amplifier. And talking to Charlie, we're guessing that it's only good for 10 meters. Since it's a CB amplifier. But if anybody's interested in it, if you'll let me know, I'll see what we can do. And let's see, I don't have anything else. I will hang around till the end of the net if anybody's got anything they want to talk about. So, buddy, here she comes. WB4ARK in the group, K4VWD.
K4VWD, WB4ARK. Okay, Lee. All the signals were pretty consistent today. Well, to figure the Henrys of your high impedance choke, high inductance choke, you need to set up a variac and a small transformer that you can say run up to 6 volts output. You put a series resistor that is variable, higher wattage resistor, in series with the transformer and the choke. You run the choke back to the transformer, so now you have a loop. Transformer to resistor, resistor to choke, and choke back to the transformer. Now, you use a meter, a voltmeter, a good quality voltmeter. You measure the AC voltage across the transformer at about 6 volts output from the 6 volts output from your transformer using your variac. Measure your voltage drop across your choke and make that equal to the voltage across the variable resistor that you have in series with the choke. So you're going to have to do a balancing act. You're going to have to make the voltage across the variable resistor in series with the choke equal to the voltage drop across the choke. Now, you use Ohm's law to figure your current through your resistor. You already know the voltage, so you use your resistance of your resistor. Measure the resistance of your resistor. You have to take it loose from the transformer. Measure the resistance of the resistor and figure the current through it. That gives you the current through the choke. Now, once you have that, you can figure V over I equals the impedance. That will give you the impedance. Then the impedance divided by 377
is equal to the inductance in henries. The impedance divided by 377 is equal to the inductance in henries. So that's how you do it. So, I hope everybody got that. If anybody wants any clarification, I can put it up on the reflector. So I'll say 73 from here and turn it back over to Charlie. W4MEC, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, WB4ARK in the group, W4MEC. Yeah, that might be an interesting email to send out. Draw up a schematic there. And then let everybody get one picture is worth 1,000 words explanation. Well, we've got several that have checked out, buddy. John, 4B John, Doak, Dave, Stan, but there's still quite a few left, and it's only 10 after. We can do a quick 73 round, make it official. The amplifier that Lee is talking about is strictly 11 meters, probably easily convertible to 10, but it uses some sweep tubes. And the model number they have, all those sweep tubes in those CB amps of that era are very difficult to find. They run about $50 to $70 a piece, and they're not a good pick there. But it may be good for parts or something. Put a pair of 6146s in it or something. And let's see. That's about it for me on that. So let's do the quick 73 round, and we'll shut her down for the ones that are left. We'll start with Dave, and we'll scratch through Stan one more time, and Doak, and Dave, ORK Dave, 4B John, and Buddy. And one last comment. I've got a Old Heath LCR bridge that reads to 100 henries, and I happen to know it's very accurate, so on the Henry scale. But it does not compute impedance. You got to do that with good old math there. WA4LLR in the group. W4.
It's me, N4AK73. Got to go.
Hey, Charlie, how's my frequency look? Over. KZ4B.
Not on zero.
On freak.
Oh, yeah.
You
try it again.
Kilohertz below the frequency.
126 kilohertz? Then why are you hearing me? How about 126 hertz maybe? Over.
That's what I was saying. So you're 1.6.
What on earth?
Or 3715. Over.
Roger. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You bet, buddy. You have a good evening. K2YN.
73's KZ4B clear.
Okay. Let's see if I got it to make sure here.
I hope so.
Well, hello to K2YN. That makes 20 folks, Charlie. Anyway, I appreciate you running the net. A lot of good information today. So everybody have a great completion to the weekend, and Lord willing, we'll catch up with you on Tuesday. 7-3, God bless. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, and I will say this. In defense of electric chainsaws, I like them a lot better than gas. And I'm talking about powered with cords, AC, not battery job. Battery jobs are useless. But I cannot jam up this thing. It's an 18-inch saw, and I've had some pretty big steel chainsaws, and even with 200 feet of cord, it'll outdo the gas chainsaw. And I have never jammed it up. It just won't happen. So anyway, thanks, buddy. And if you would, yeah, type that thing up if you want to and put it on the old friend's reflector. That would be very nice to have. Been a good net, 73s, and over to George, if you're still there, K4GDN, N4LQ. Guess not. Go to Mark.
KG4IUQ. Well, it's been a good net. I like the info that Mayer gave on how to measure or to come up with the impedance of a choke. He said 2 times pi times frequency times inductance. That's something that I like to think about. Sometime I'll actually probably do that. Everybody have a good evening. And I don't know who to turn it over to now. I guess it's Mayer. WF2U, this is KG4IUQ.
Yeah, Roger, KG4IUQ in the net. This is WF2U. Well, 73, everybody. Have a good evening. See you all on Tuesday, I guess. And I'll try to be on 160 tonight. And signals are really outstanding today. And I guess that 4B was really way off frequency. And anyway, but was strong where he was. So thanks, Charlie, for running the net. And take care all. Ken is still here. Pick it up if not, whoever is next. 73 all, this is WF2U.
Goes to the VVC if he's still here.
He's still here. Thanks, Charlie. And thanks a lot for running the net. Worked great and had a great time here this evening. And I hope Cliff's still here. I don't know whether he signed out or not, but I'll say goodnight to him. WB4NKL, K1VVC.
I signed, but I'll jump back in and say 73s, and thanks for calling it, Charlie. Go ahead, Glenn. N48K, WB4NKL.
He bailed out, so let's see, it goes to WA4EBK.
WA4EBK. Well, 73s, everybody. Thoroughly enjoyed it this evening, although I'm having a little more trouble with signals than some of them. Steve, I'll see you on the 160 net tonight. I think I found the root cause of the Jesus problem with AM. And I've got a suggestion on the measuring, I've got an LC meter, might be able to use it to measure your inductor there. And with that, send it on over to Brian. KN4R, take it, WA4EVK.
He's gone.
Yeah, it goes down to, let's see, WA4FTQ. So he bailed out. How about KJ4YEV?
KJ4YEV, yeah, I'm still listening here, guys. I'll say 73 guys until next week. Good hearing everybody on here. Good signals, so look forward to next time. KJ4YEV. On to K4VWD.
Okay, Al, very good. Thank you. This is K4VWD. Thank you for doing the net, Charlie, and especially thank you for all the information on that varmint amplifier. And I will get in touch with the donor and tell him that after 20 hams on the net heard about it, nobody wanted it. And with that, I'll say 7-3, God bless. Look forward to talking to you Tuesday. WB4ARK, K4VWD. So long.
Now, buddy, checked out last time, so does K2YN want to make any official comments?
Well, I don't know how official they are, but I do appreciate you bringing me in there. Been listening for a while, and it's been very comfortable listening. I love the technical discussions earlier that involve impedance and reactive component as well as resistive. But anyway, the net went quite well. Very nice. I appreciate you doing it. and I just want to pay a visit. I don't know how this thing sounds. I just got it on the air. Over.
Well, it's very bassy. There's no highs in it at all. And if you were S2 or something,
Let's see what I see there. Really? You don't hear highs? Okay. Well, we'll work on that. I appreciate your feedback. That's why I got in here. Over.
Okay, well, we're shutting her down now, so, I know you've checked in before. We meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays next, 9 a.m. on the same frequency, so come back and join us. And plenty of folks here will talk you into some more audio, what's the word, bandwidth there. Anyway, 7-3 all. Thanks for everybody that checked into the net today, and we'll look for you on Tuesday morning. It's W4MEC, sitting on the old Friends Net. Bye-bye.